Welcome to the Richmond Film Network Podcast, your all-access pass to the world of independent cinema. Each week, we go beyond the credits and sit down with the creatives who turn vision into reality. Tune in weekly to find out who's on the RFN Pod.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RFN Podcast. I'm your guest host, MK Martey. Today, I'm joined by Holden Conner, director and co-writer of Emergency Broadcast. Thanks for joining us, Holden.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so to start us off, let's talk about the concept behind Emergency Broadcast and where this idea even came from. Emergency Broadcast taps into that very specific dread of TV suddenly knowing more than it should. Where did that idea come from?
Well, my friends and I that I've known since like elementary school, we've always been obsessed with the show The Twilight Zone. It was a big like influence on us as kids. I remember like we used to have sleepovers and we would just like watch old episodes of it on Netflix like whenever we were at somebody's house. And we've always loved the Twilight Zone, and we always loved that in the Twilight Zone it was whatever weird thing was happening was just the vehicle for the story to happen. Whatever weird thing is going on, it's not really explained. The more interesting part is like how these people react to it. And we wanted to make a story like that. And my friend Joey came up with the idea of guy starts getting messages from the TV that only he can see. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I'll write a version of the script, and then you write a version of that same script. We won't tell each other what we're doing. Let's create our own drafts and then get together and read them. And then once we've read each other's versions, we put our heads together and make a third draft together. And after, a couple more renditions and edits, that became the script for Emergency Broadcast.
I really like that approach to like a certain writer's room. What were you trying to explore with the idea of a young man alone in a new apartment? Was it more about paranoia, loneliness, or something else entirely?
Definitely paranoia. It became clearer to me as we were going on that I wanted to convey the idea that you should ask for help. This is like this is what can happen if you don't ask for help, if you're always shutting people out, turning people away. Like even in the beginning, like the character makes an offhand comment to his friend that he moved the TV up the stairs by himself, and his friend's like, you didn't have to do that, you could have called me. And he's like, no, I wanted to do it by myself. That like over-self-reliance to the point where it's actually hindering you is something that I wanted to comment on with this film.
There's a long tradition of screens acting as portals or warnings in horror and sci-fi. How did you want your film to add something new to that conversation?
Good question. I don't know if we can see it. I'm actually going to move my thing a little bit here. But that TV right there is the actual TV that we used in the film. It just lives in my room. I kind of really like old technology. I know there's like much better TVs that I can have, probably a better one that can actually pair with a Fire Stick so that I can watch TV in bed, but I keep that one around because it's easy to plug the PS2 into. I like old technology.
Oh, wow.
And we wanted to set Emergency Broadcast in this period piece where there was that kind of more reliance on television. Like it wasn't the way that the internet is now. Like people would still watch the news on TV. It was like the primary way to get information. And we wanted to explore that. We thought setting it in a period piece would make that, idea of he's listening to the TV so religiously a lot easier to sell if we put it in like 2002, especially in like post 9/11 area where like something huge just happened. Everybody's watching the TV now. Everybody's like locked into the news to try and figure out what's happening next. Are we okay? So we thought we want to comment on that. We want to comment on like just capture that feeling of glued to the TV and being stuck in this room and like becoming all nasty and isolated.
You've said that focusing too much on polish can actually stifle creativity. How did that philosophy show up during the making of this film?
With this film, it went pretty smoothly for the most part. Lighting is one thing that definitely took a while. Our crew did a fantastic job, especially in that sequence where we changed the light mid-scene so that it looks darker and looks more like a police interrogation. We had a very interesting rig for that. But to really get the lighting right, it takes a lot of time. And I really encouraged my DP to just kind of like do what felt right to him. I encouraged him to try things. At any time he was like, "Can I try this?" I would say, "Go for it." And we wanted to plan ahead as much as we could with every project that I've ever worked on. I do as much planning as I can, but then when I get there and actually see the location for the first time, it could be completely different, and I could have completely different ideas for like what I want things to look like. Oh, the idea I had before, no, the idea I have now is much better now that I actually see this spot in person.
What were some of the most fun, scrappy solutions you found while trying to create the strange visuals or audio effects for the TV messages?
Oh, for the TV messages,
Yeah.
that was all my editor Kebab. I left that in his hands. He found the robot voice to use for all the communications back and forth. He actually did some like really intensive, painstaking visual effects for this film, where he would just replace the screen with something else to fix the timing. Because most of the time, whenever we could, we just wanted to film the TV screen like on set. Like we took the TV out of my little apartment here and put it in that other apartment in Alexandria, and mostly just shot that. But there were like a couple of scenes where Kebab had to like go in frame by frame and just like paint in a new screen so that he could get the timing right for certain sequences. But I think my favorite thing that we kind of came up with like on the fly was this one sequence where Gage he has his like hand on the TV and he like drags his hand down it. And I had the idea to, hey, let's take the camera and tilt the camera down with him as his hand goes down. And we took the couch and we moved it out, and then we had the camera move behind the couch. And the final product in the film looks really nice.
Yeah. Was there a moment during production where things weren't going to plan, or maybe even something better came out of that?
Ooh, the first day was very rough because our lead actor got stuck in traffic, and the whole crew is there just like ready to go, and we're already like maybe 30 minutes behind, and then we find out that our lead actor isn't going to be there for like maybe another hour. So we're all just like scrambling, trying to figure out what we can do, and we're like, let's just go through blocking, I guess. Let's go through blocking and figure out where we're going to be, and then we'll be ready for when he gets here. But after that first day, everything went pretty smoothly.
You mentioned loving collaboration. Who were your key collaborators on this film, and how did their perspective shape the final product?
So I knew that I wanted to be director on this. I wanted to kind of take charge and kind of command the visual look of things and how people should react and just kind of overall cater to the story. But for the edit, we left that to Kebab, and we were really confident in what he could do. And Joey kind of took on this more like an AD kind of role on set, because he was the lead writer on this. Like he came up with more of what happened in the script than I did. I just kind of came through and made a bunch of additions that he really liked. But he like really knew what to do on set, and he was kind of almost as much as a director on this as I was. And he was also kind of like a script supervisor too. And my friend Warren Spears, he was the cinematographer on this. I've worked with him a couple of different times over the years at George Mason. We were both students there. And I was really impressed with what he did on this one film, Body Snatchers. And that's actually where we met our lead actor, Josh, as well. And so it was a kind of a mini reunion between Josh and Warren and I, all working on this film again together.
How do you keep the creative process fun on set, especially when working in genres that deal with tension or uneasiness?
Oh, there's always a lot of joking around going on. It's almost like marching band, just like having a bunch of like ADHD kids in a room together that are all like super online. So, and our I think our props person and makeup person, Rob, he is a huge Transformers nut, and so is my friend Kubab, who is editor on this. So they had like they were just like geeking out the entire time on set talking about Transformers and stuff.
Do you ever write with specific people or locations in mind, or do those elements come in later in your creative process?
Usually, yeah, I try to think of a location first. Something that was unique to this one was we were just trying to find any apartment that we could that would, fit, tiny room. We tried to make it as nondescript as possible so that we'd have more options when we're looking at Airbnbs and stuff. And we found one with this big set of stairs. And once we started thinking about it, we're like, oh my gosh, this actually solves a major problem in the end of our script because we need to figure out how to kill a guy and we didn't know how to make it look good. And once we saw like this super long hallway with the stairwell, we were like, we just push him down the stairs. That's our solution.
Let's talk a little bit more about how the film feels visually and sonically and how you created that atmosphere. What were some of your visual inspirations for the film, either other directors or specific scenes from films that help set the mood?
Yeah, I actually had like a whole mood board set up for people that I prepared a while ago. A huge influence for me was Poltergeist. We really wanted to capture that like blue, like that kind of look where the TV is the only light in the room, and it's just this blue glow that like permeates through the darkness. Poltergeist. This film I like called Driver. That's like a really nice dark and moody kind of film. We also, again, Twilight Zone. A lot of inspiration from that. And I think I used like a couple of screenshots from Persona as well. The old 60s film as another example of like a good, TV glow, empty room kind of feeling. And yeah, I knew I wanted a lot of blue light. And Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal. That film really captured my imagination when I watched it in college for the first time, because that whole film is like completely yellow. It's like very sickly yellow, the entire thing. And that showed me like, this is how far you can like really push the color grading in one of your projects. So I was like, okay, I want everything to be like blue for when he's like talking to the TV, but every time he's like in his apartment by himself, it's like yellow and sickly to like kind of show his like deteriorating by himself.
Yeah, I love that balance of both, all those visual inspirations. I think based off of those, I think you really nailed that mood. How did you approach sound design? The idea of the TV speaking ominously is so simple. It can be still, I think, pretty unsettling in the right hands.
Yeah, for sure. I have to shout out my sound professor, Amanda Kraus, one of my favorite professors ever at Mason. Her sound class taught me so much about sound design. We like had this really in-depth look when the first Quiet Place movie came out, and she showed us like all the behind the scenes of like how they did the sound design for that. All these little things that you don't think even really matter can make such a huge difference when you place the proper emphasis on them. So we really wanted to give this thing our all in the sound design. And I remember I spent a full day with Joey in my apartment going around just doing Foley for certain scenes. One of the most meticulous ones I remember was the earthquake sequence. The earthquake sequence is carried so much by sound in this. We just took this big cardboard box of glasses and we just shook it around, and then we put the mic real close to that, and that's the sound of all the glasses shaking in this house. We took all these bottle caps together, and there's this scene where a painting like falls over, and then in the next scene he's like picking it up, and he's like picking up all the individual glass pieces. So for the sounds of him picking up the glass and putting it in like this little ashtray or whatever that he has, it's all these bottle caps that were like meticulously clinking together as we're watching the film to like kind of match the movement.
That's super cool. Was there a moment in the film where you intentionally subverted what the audience expected just to keep things off balance?
There was a moment I definitely drew out for as long as I could with silence. When you intentionally put silence in your film, the audience will notice it. And for me, it was that scene where the camera is like getting closer and closer and closer to Gage on the couch, and then there's another shot of the camera getting closer and closer to the TV screen. So it's almost like the two of them, the TV and Gage, are getting closer and closer together until the black screen of the TV takes up the entire screen, and then it's just a black screen. We held that for so long in the edit because we really wanted to like drag out the silence before like basically jump scaring the audience with the next like loud screeching emergency broadcast signal that comes out of the TV. And it's supposed to especially be scary because the TV is like unplugged at this point. So it's alive. It has a life of its own now.
Looking a little bit deeper, is emergency broadcasts meant to be read literally or more as a metaphor, say for isolation, information overload, or modern anxiety?
I like it to be left open to interpretation.
Okay.
I know for me that it's most about the dangers of self-isolation and the dangers of trying to do everything on your own, and that you should let people in and accept help from others. That's my biggest message from this. But I know a lot of this, or I know a lot of people could like look at this film and see it as like, oh, this is about COVID. This is about being trapped inside your house and having to listen to all these rules. And I was like, well, yeah, those rules are important, and I don't want it to be seen as like disregard the rules. But there also were a lot of feelings caught up in that era, where people were very sad to be trapped in their house and have the goalposts constantly be moved. Or I was like, oh, it's 3 months. Oh, now it's 4 months. Now it's this. Now it's that.
So would you say, do you enjoy leaving most of your work up open to interpretation, or is that just emergency broadcast?
I'd say I like leaving my work open to interpretation. Like there is like, there is like a specific way you can look at a piece of work, but I like it when an audience can like come to their own conclusion about something, and it doesn't have to be spelled out for them, because then it feels like you're participating with the art more rather than something's being told to you.
Yeah. Aside from interpretation, how do you want the audience to feel after watching this? Disturbed, curious, just entertained?
I want them to feel like they should call their mom and be like, I'm doing good, or I am going to spend more time outside now. And just kind of take stock of like the good things that they have in their lives.
Cool. So you've already brought this film to audiences in different places. You screened at Ocean City Film Fest, and
Hmm.
now you're headed to the RFN Indie Fest. What has it meant to share this work with audiences in different regions?
Oh, it's my favorite part by far is just seeing people's reactions to my work. Like that's the reason I keep doing it. It's so fun to see people get a reaction out of something that you've made. And like my favorite scene is, or spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet. The scene at the end of the film where Gage grabs the baseball bat. I could hear an entire audience gasp when I hear that, and that alone just makes me so happy. So I like, bringing that experience to people, making people feel something.
What surprised you most about seeing your film play on the big screen for the first time? Did anything hit differently than you expected?
Yeah. I think people find there's like a certain dark humor in this film, because some people would like gasp when he's been like trapped in the house for so long, and then he gets another message saying that he has to quarantine for even longer. Some people will like gasp at that moment, but other people will laugh at that. And everybody has like a different reaction to it. I think it's kind of like a nervous laughter, where it's like, oh no, this is only going to get worse for him.
You're someone who's always jotting down story ideas. What's your note taking system like? Is it like more a journaling, voice memos?
It's I have like a notes tab on my phone, and whenever an idea comes to me, I have to write it down and I have to describe it as well as I can, because I've definitely written down notes before where I come back weeks later to look at the same note and I have no idea what this was about. So I always have to leave very detailed descriptions of like what I want to do. Like I have one right now that says Lone Night Project, and to somebody else, they don't know what that means. But to me, that means, oh, I want to do this story about a knight that gets lost in the woods, because like I am really into cosplay and I have like a big suit of armor and this like big helmet that I wear every once in a while, and I always wanted to put somebody in that like get up and then do a whole short film centered around that.
No, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of the not remembering what my own notes are about, especially in film when we're exploring such niche ideas. It's really hard to really remember what you thought of.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved from Delaware to Virginia. How has the change in location affected your creative momentum or the stories you want to tell?
I feel like moving to Virginia has made things better because I've been able to get work in DC for Netflix and for Showtime and for Apple TV occasionally. And then I also get to collaborate with friends that I've made in the industry and friends that I've went to school with. I actually spent pretty much all of today editing a project that I shot over the weekend with friends in Ocean City, but a lot of the friends that I worked with were friends that I'd worked with on a project in like Colonial Beach, Virginia. And I got onto that set because of a connection that I made from college. And there's like the network is wide. I've made a lot of friends and connections, and I have like 3 different projects that are all going concurrently right now. This one, emergency broadcast, and then end of the show, which I have all the footage on right here, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get it to my editor, who's in Delaware, and then my summer project that's also going to screen in Ocean City. So still a lot of connections in Ocean City, but I'm very happy to be back in Virginia because I've worked on more things since coming back here than I have in Delaware.
Awesome. What advice would you give a young filmmaker who's trying to make something impactful on limited resources?
I would say think small and try to just get one location. Try to set a story in one location, preferably indoors, and from there just try to shoot it, and then that will teach you a lot about what problems will arise, what you want in terms of lighting. It will teach you a lot about blocking, where to put the actors, where to put the camera, how to make things look interesting, even if it's just like a pretty, boring looking room. And even with other locations, just try to write with locations in mind, or a location in mind, and just try to think about what makes that location interesting to you. I always find myself gravitating towards older looking buildings. Like when I was shooting in Ocean City, I really wanted to shoot in front of the old Dumzer's ice cream stand, because their sign is like, it's pretty much been untouched since like the 70s. So I knew I always wanted to shoot there because it was so colorful and it gives you a lot to look at in the background. And when the background is just as interesting as the actors on screen, kind of makes the whole thing look more presentable and enjoyable. So I would say, think about locations, what makes a location interesting to you, and how you can populate that location with interesting characters.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really wonderful perspective, and I honestly couldn't agree more. I have some lightning fun closers for us to go through.
All right.
What's the last film you watched that made you want to grab a camera and make something immediately?
Make something immediately. That would probably have to be Napoleon Dynamite. Like, I love that. Like, I go back to it all the time, and just something about the way people talk in that movie is so funny. So, yeah.
That one is inspiring. If your TV started speaking to you in real life, what would you hope it didn't say?
I hope it doesn't say what's on sale at the Lego store, because then I would be broke within at least 2 business days.
I love the Lego store. Actually, Barnes & Nobles has superior Legos than the Lego store, just saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a hot take. Okay.
They do. They're the adult versions. So next question. What would the title of your first feature film be if you could greenlight it tomorrow?
Ooh, that is a good question. If I could greenlight it tomorrow, I've had this idea for a while, and if I could stretch it out to like be feature length, it would be called Deep Storage. I've wanted to do a story about 2 guys going into a storage unit, and the further and further they go into it, the further and further they realize we are lost. We are not in the same building that we were in that like 20 minutes ago. And then the whole thing just becomes this like maze, and they find out there's a monster in the maze with them. I want to do a whole film about that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. You can go a lot of places with that premise. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Holden. Before we wrap, let us know where we can find more about Emergency Broadcast and keep up with your upcoming projects.
Yeah, so Emergency Broadcast will be at Richmond Film Festival pretty soon. It's coming to a sci-fi film festival in Rehoboth Beach, but that'll not be happening till 2026. But I'd say until then, my personal Instagram is Chewy_Conner. This one, and I'm always posting about what I'm going to be working on next there, and I've got 2 different projects actively in the works right now, and I guess I would just shout out Richmond Film Festival, and I would shout out the Ocean City Film Fest in 2026, because I know I'll be there again when that happens.
Yeah. Thanks, Holden, for taking us behind the scenes on Emergency Broadcast. If you guys want to meet Holden and find out more, we hope to see you at the RFN Indie Fest on August 9th. Till next time, guys, that's all for today. We'll see you next time. All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Richmond Film Network podcast. Thanks to our guest and to you, our listeners, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Tune in next week to see who's on the RFN pod. Until then, keep the cameras rolling.